Have you ever felt so worried about what might happen tomorrow that you forgot to live today? This is the story of a man who almost lost his entire life, trying to control a future that hadn't even arrived. A long time ago, in a valley surrounded by towering mountains, there lived a builder named Matthew. But Matthew wasn't just any builder. He didn't construct houses or buildings. He only built bridges. Bridges that crossed a wild, fast, unpredictable river. And though Matthew was strong, honest, and hardworking, something consumed him from within: fear. It wasn't fear of heights, not fear of water either. It was a quieter, deeper fear. It was fear of the future. Matthew lived trapped in a tomorrow that didn't yet exist. Every time he placed a stone, his mind was already thinking about next year's storms. What if the river rises too high? What if this stone cracks in the cold? What if in 10 years the bridge can't support the weight of the people? These questions wouldn't let him sleep, wouldn't let him work, wouldn't let him live. His anxiety was like a frozen mist that never lifted. While other builders worked with confidence, Matthew measured the same stone 10 times. He'd mix the mortar and then throw it out, convinced it wasn't perfect enough to withstand the test of time. His hands trembled, not from weakness, but from the terror of making a mistake that would haunt him forever. And so his work became slow, so slow that the villagers waited months for a bridge that never finished. Matthew no longer enjoyed his craft. He didn't feel the warmth of the sun on his back. He didn't hear the satisfying sound of the hammer against stone. He only saw the day when everything would collapse, the day he would fail. He had become a slave to a tomorrow that hadn't even arrived. One morning, as he stared at his half-built bridge, Matthew felt something inside him break. The river rushed powerfully before him, indifferent to his suffering. And then a phrase cut through his mind like a knife. "I can't do this. The future is too big. And I am too small." It was at that moment that someone appeared. An old man was walking toward him from the valley path. He wore simple clothes and carried a long wooden staff. But there was something in his eyes, something that conveyed a peace Matthew hadn't felt in years. He was one of those wise travelers who walked the roads between villages, without hurry, without fear. The old man stopped by the river. He watched Matthew in silence for a few seconds. And then, with a soft but firm voice, he asked, "Young man, why does your bridge stop here? The river keeps flowing, but your work stands still." Matthew felt shame. And then, as if something inside him broke loose, he let it all out. He told him about his fear of the future, about how every stone seemed like a threat, about how he tried to build for a tomorrow he couldn't see, and how that obsession robbed him of the ability to work today. The old man listened without interrupting, and when Matthew finished, he nodded slowly. "You carry too much weight, son. You're trying to lift the entire bridge all at once. That's why your hands shake." The old man pointed to a pile of uncut stones by the river. "Come. Let me show you the true work of the bridge." He didn't give a sermon. He didn't speak in complicated phrases. He simply bent down, picked up a large, rough stone, and pulled out a small chisel and a heavy hammer. "Do you see this stone?" he asked. "It will be part of the bridge. It must last 100 years. Matthew nodded sadly. "Yes, that's my fear." But the old man didn't strike the stone hard. He didn't work it in a rush. He just began giving it small taps with a steady, almost hypnotic rhythm. Top, top, top. All his attention was on that single stone, on smoothing one edge, on adjusting a corner, on studying each imperfection. "When I work on this stone," said the old man, "I don't think about the last storm. I don't think about the storm of the future either. I only ask myself one thing. What does this stone need from me, now in this moment?" He continued working. The sound of the hammer filled the air, constant and peaceful. "If this stone is well-shaped today, and if it fits perfectly with the next one, it will be strong for 100 years. But if I worry about the future, I'll strike it too hard. I'll break it, and I'll have lost the stone today." The old man looked at Matthew with those eyes clear as deep water. The strength of the finished bridge isn't in the future. It's in the perfection of each small connection you make in the present. Matthew watched him, absorbed. The old man worked without hurry, without fear, but with absolute care. In just a few minutes, the stone was ready. Simple, solid, perfect. Then the old man stood up and pointed to the river rushing powerfully at their feet. Look at the water, Matthew. The water never thinks about the ocean. It doesn't worry about whether it will reach the sea tomorrow. It just flows along the easiest path it finds in this moment. It goes around the obstacles in front of it now. And yet, it always reaches the ocean. It doesn't need to worry about the future. It only needs to flow today. He handed the chisel and hammer to Matthew. The bridge is built one stone at a time. The future is built one moment at a time. Do your part today. And without saying more, the old man continued on his way. Matthew stood there, tools in hand. They felt heavier than before, but in a different way. More solid, more real. He returned to the pile of stones. This time, he didn't look toward the end of the bridge. He didn't listen to the voice of fear talking to him about future storms. He picked up a stone, placed the chisel, lifted the hammer.
Top, top, top.
He only concentrated on that edge he was shaping, on the sound of the hammer, on the dust flying from the rock. And every time his mind tried to jump ahead, he brought it back. Just this strike, just this side, just this stone. His fear didn't disappear immediately, but it became smaller. It was displaced by the total attention he gave to his work. And for the first time in a long while, he felt something he had forgotten. The joy of creating. His work became fluid. He found his rhythm. And slowly, the bridge began to grow. Matthew kept building, no longer as a slave to tomorrow, but like a river that flows without hurry. He finished that bridge, and then another, and another, and over time his bridges became famous. Not because they were the biggest, but because they lasted generations. They were strong, not because Matthew worried about the future, but because he gave his whole heart to the present. And Matthew finally found peace, because he learned the most powerful truth that exists. The best way to secure tomorrow is to perfect today. If the story helped you let go of even one small worry, share it. And if you want to find more peace in the present, subscribe to this channel. Because the future is nothing more than a collection of well-lived days. And today is the only day that truly matters.